truck's getting old, about to hit 10,000 miles. So we're gonna do the first oil change. If you've never done one on a 2017 and up Super Duty with the 6.7, it requires 13 quarts of oil, either 10W30 or 5W40. I don't run biodiesel, I always find number 2, and it's not really a tow pig or anything like that. So 10W30 is what I'm sticking with, OEM, Motorcraft. And then if you weren't up to date, Ford did a update on a part. The filter used to be FL2051S. It's now 2124. Should be the same. I think the specs are a little better on the actual media inside, the filtration media inside, but overall it is the same filter. I like to use a 5-gallon bucket. It's tall, catches all the oil, and it's plenty big for this big of an engine. And all you need is a 16mm wrench for the drain plug. I like to wear gloves, and then an oil filter wrench for the oil filter. All right, so we're under the truck now, which is really nice with a lifted truck, especially in any level. We're at the oil pan. Here's that 16mm bolt for the drain plug. All I got to do is crack it loose, and then I'll grab the bucket. I'll slide it under here. It's already starting to leak. As you can see, here's your oil filter. I'll do that at the end. Make sure your truck is not super hot when you do this. I like the oil to be warm so it flows better, but not fully at operating temperature. So these threads are pretty long. And then always have a rag. All right, so most of the oil's drained. If you never change the oil on a diesel, it's always gonna be black. It's normal. It's from the carbon and soot in diesel engines, produces a lot of that. Before you put your drain plug back in, take a look at it. There's an O-ring. Make sure the O-ring is still intact. This one started to come off the threads, so just make sure it's pushed back, it's in good condition before you put it back in. And then obviously wipe it off in the area around. All right, so this is the original Ford Motor Company oil filter. It's got a different part number than the replacement one. This is the original from the factory, since this is the first oil change on the truck. These are always messy oil filters, so have your drain pan ready. Try to let it not get all over the place. The quicker you do this, the less mess it makes, but it's still a pain in the ass, and it's making a filter. All right, so that's off. Change your gloves. I do pre-fill the new filters, so new filters there, I pre-filled it. Put a little oil on the O-ring, and then I've been seeing this as an issue with these trucks. Not necessarily an issue, it's always oil change 101 is to look at the mounting surface and look at the gasket, and sure enough, that one was still stuck on the mating surface of the oil filter mount. So always check that, because if you slap that on there and that's there, the double seal will leak, and you're gonna be wondering why. I thought that was common sense, but I've been seeing a lot of people acting surprised when they find out their truck's leaking and they gotta go on the forum and figure out why. We'll let that drain a little, then I'll wipe it up, slap the new filter on, and we'll be done, ready to fill it up. All right, so the oil's drained out. I swapped the filter. That was the first engine I've ever pulled the filter off and the O-ring actually stayed on there. So that was cool to actually see. I had read about it and seen that. For the oil, when you fill it, not everybody has the luxury of any level. I'm gonna be able to lower this thing down and climb right in there and fill it up. It calls for 13 quarts. Don't dump 13 quarts. Check the dipstick as you get close to 12 quarts or so, because you're not going to get all the oil out when you drain no matter what. So don't overfill your engine. But that's pretty much it. Hardest part of the oil change is filling it up. A longer funnel would have been nice. I had no intention of doing this oil change, by the way. I had an appointment for the dealership today at 2 o'clock that I made last week. And when I got to the dealership, the advisor came out and he's like, hey dude, your truck won't fit in the shop, it's too big. And I didn't want to go back to the dealership that messed up my tire last time when they lowered the lift and didn't know not to drive the truck or steer it. I didn't tell them to lower it. I kept it up for a reason when I dropped it off. But either way, save yourself some money. The oil costs about 110 bucks for 3 jugs. The oil filter is about 40 bucks. You can find them online on Amazon. Just make sure you don't get a knockoff. They're only like 30 bucks on Amazon. And then less than an hour you can change your oil.